It's my pleasure to start our first virtual annual meeting 2020. And dear friends, dear PSI community, I can see already several familiar faces through Zoom. For the second time in our history, we also invited students, the core of our community, to join us today. Welcome. For those who don't know me, first of all, I'm a parent. I'm also a long-standing and proud member of PSI community. And normally, of course, I would have addressed you all standing in our nice auditorium at PSI, something I personally miss a lot, but unfortunately it's impossible this year. The safety of our community, their well-being, their health, that's a paramount of all we do. That's why we reunite now via Zoom, and we are going to discuss a lot of things tonight. Of course, it's a challenge. It's the first time we do that, I believe, in our history. And despite all, I think the school year 2019-2020 was a very successful year for us. Of course, it brought a lot of challenges recently, and we are going to talk about what we have achieved, and we're going to celebrate it because we've done quite a lot this school year, and obviously we are going to talk about our plans. So on that note, without further ado, I will pass the floor to our director, Rachel Kaduo. Rachel?
Thank you, Alex. Good evening, everyone. It's lovely to see you all, and happy Vyshyvanka Day. I'm delighted that so many people have joined us. It really is. We're at 70 participants, which is absolutely a record, at least in my short tenure at the school. This evening, we do have a very eclectic program for you. The main focus, of course, is on the board's work and the board's achievements this year, and also on the possibility for all of you to ask questions and seek clarifications. In addition, of course, we have the announcements of the board election results and of the bylaw change that was also posed to the community as a possibility. But here you can see in front of you, if you take a moment to look, the program ahead. Don't worry, we have between 30 seconds and 4 minutes at the most for each slide. So you haven't committed a lifetime to this event. We should be done in a reasonable amount of time this evening. Just some quick housekeeping. Fortunately, I don't need to let any of you know where the bathrooms are. You're all completely aware of that this evening. And where you can pick up a snack or a coffee is also completely obvious to you. But I would like to say that during the course of this event, if you do have a question occur to you, what we would ask you to do is either to jot it down for yourselves so that later in the event you can raise a hand and ask, but perhaps more conveniently, considering the number of folks we have this evening, if you could write that question in the chat, it will be received by Nikita, who will then read those questions out at the end of the event. If by any chance we have so many questions that we're running into difficulties with time, we will certainly endeavour to answer all of those in writing to folks afterwards. But I think we should be good. So we'll do most of those by chat, but of course we'll also accept some hands up if something occurs to you at the moment that we pose that timing for questions. I think that that's good for now. What I'd like to ask Nikita to go to the next slide for me. To start our event this evening, we really wanted to focus in on the core business of the school, and the core business of our school, of course, is our students and their learning. And at an event recently, which I can't remember which one it was, perhaps our Honours Assembly, Patricia, we had our CAS band play, and they were outstanding. And they mentioned it was their final gig of the year at PSI, and this was well before the virus was in the news and had affected us. And I asked them if I could book them for the AGM, and they agreed. So fortunately, they still agreed to be booked and to perform for us, and they have created a special video performance, each of them from their own abodes, putting it together to create the most beautiful piece of music, which sets a perfect tone for this evening's events. So let's sit back and listen to get us started to this lovely performance. Thank you, and please feel free to give a silent applause.
We can hear it.
Nikita, we can't hear. Phew.
Tastes like strawberries on a summer evening, and it sounds just like a song. I want more berries and a summer feeling. It's so wonderful and warm. Breathe me in, breathe me out. I don't know if I could ever go without. I'm just thinking out loud. I don't know if I could ever go without watermelon sugar high, watermelon sugar high, watermelon sugar high, watermelon sugar high, watermelon sugar, strawberries on a summer evening. Maybe you're the end of June. I want your belly and the summer feeling, getting washed away with you. Breathe me in, breathe me out. I don't know if I could ever go without watermelon sugar high, 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 watermelon sugar high. I just wanna taste it. I just wanna taste it. Watermelon sugar. Tastes like strawberries on a summer evening, and it sounds just like a song. I want your belly and a summer feeling. I don't know if I could ever go without. I just wanna taste it. I just wanna taste it. Watermelon sugar. I just wanna taste it. I just wanna taste it. Watermelon sugar high. Watermelon sugar.
Students, thank you so much. I'm so glad to see you here with us this evening as well, so you can enjoy the applause of the audience. It was phenomenal. You really are superstars, and I thank you absolutely for that. I'm now going to hand the floor back to Alex, and he's going to talk to the PSI Board of Governors goals for the school year 2019-20.
Well, just a small introduction. Usually at the end of every school year, we we decide on our goals for the next school year with the new cohort of the board, and that's going to happen next June based on today's election results. So we had quite ambitious goals for this year, and I should say that we made quite a lot of progress on all of them. Of course, we didn't plan, all related to COVID-19 to become our strategic goal this year. It did, and obviously a lot of efforts and a lot of our focus nowadays is on all the measures related to quarantine, distance learning, and obviously reopening of our school. For those who are not quite familiar with our modus operandi, we work in the committees. We have 3 committees, and today the heads of those 3 committees will make their presentations, and they will talk more specifically about the specific tasks and implementation of those goals. So I will stop here, and I will pass the floor back to you, Rachel.
Thank you, Alex. Yes, if we can go to the next slide, Nikita, that would be perfect. Thank you. So before we get a little bit more into the business of the board, we thought that it would be appropriate to share some of the school highlights that, of course, the board's support allows us to celebrate together. And if we can take a look at the next slide, it highlights some of the work that we did that brought about some cause for celebration. And if you read these through, the first one, of course, was not planned for, and we certainly know that we want to continue to grow in this area. But I can never say loudly enough how extraordinarily proud I am, and I know my leadership team members are, of the faculty for their response to this emergency situation, the way that they acted quickly, swiftly, and with extraordinary grace, and also with this openness to learn exponentially in a very short period of time. Within that, we also want to praise our students for the way that they received all of this and they responded to this, and therefore their very insightful feedback, which is actually, I believe, leading the way in how we will be looking at teaching and learning when we go back on campus, because our students definitely have stories to tell that can help to inform what we're doing further in the future. And to you, our parents here tonight too, we thank you for your cooperation. We understand that for many of you, these have been extraordinarily demanding times as you try to work from home and also step in to support your children with the learning programs that we have created for them. So we do believe that that is a success that everybody, every single person in our PSI community should be celebrating. The other ones almost seem a little banal when you start looking at that, but they did seem extraordinarily important at the time, and no, indeed they are. We have very low faculty turnover again, and that is very good, and we had a very successful recruitment season, recruiting very high-class faculty, all of whom, for your information, are still extremely excited about joining us in the new year. We just have to figure out how to actually get them here, but we are in constant contact with them. They have buddies in the school with whom they're working, both in terms of their social interactions and their academic ones. We meet with them every 3 weeks or so, 2-3 weeks or so on Zoom to talk as a group, so they're getting to know each other virtually as well, and we're very excited for their arrival. A bittersweet one is our smooth transition, which is underway with our new secondary principal and our outgoing and much appreciated principal, Patricia. I know that everyone will join me in thanking her for her extraordinary calm, always good-humoured, nearly always good-humoured response to this situation. It's been a total support for me having her on the team, and I appreciate every minute of what she's done through this crisis, and of course before, for 11 years. Let's not forget that that's actually the important piece. 11 years of contribution to PSI and its community. We'll have more to say about that on other occasions, but it was important, I think, to recognise that this evening. We're looking forward to, we had very good last year IB diploma program results. Our students were excited by their university offers, and they've become our alumni, keeping in touch with their many achievements as well. A wonderful benefit this year was our growth in student numbers, which was exciting to see, and of course, I guess a way of measuring BSI's reputation and success in the wider community. The next point we'll come back to in the next couple of slides, our leading school benchmarks. We've also been working very hard on our teacher growth plan and strengthening a culture of coaching and learning for our teachers within the school, wonderfully supported by our teachers, and I believe they are finding it extremely beneficial to work together with this model. Working on the design of the new schedule, more on that shortly too. I know Patricia and the team have meetings set up for teachers next week. They've been talking to students this week. We did a lot of events with CESA, and we actually have events planned for next year too. We'll let you know about that shortly as well. We have a fantastic new look website, very modern, very easy to navigate, and with very, very useful, I believe, information for both internal and external folks who wish to know more about PSI. We had for the first time hosted the ISTA, the International Schools of Theatre Association event, which was outstanding in its quality, and I do believe puts us right up there in terms of the quality of arts program that we offer within the CESA community. And of course, with help from everyone, but most notably Nikita, we've worked extremely hard to develop further our alumni program. And we have some very strong connections now with our alumni, and we'll continue to build upon that. Thank you. Thank you for your attention as I spoke through that slide. I'm going to now hand over to Cindy, who will just explain very shortly, very briefly, a little bit more about one of the board goals, about leading school benchmarks and the strategic plan. Cindy, you're still muted.
The strategic plan goals are an opportunity for us to really look at how we as a school want to grow and develop into the future, and gives us an action plan of ways that we want to really move forward. And in order to really enable us to focus on those strategic plan goals, we want to make sure that we're also maintaining our mission. We're in the process of developing and finalizing leading school benchmarks that are ways for us to measure what are those things that we're doing now that we want to maintain doing to make sure that we're keeping our status as a leading school. So these leading school benchmarks are in a number of different areas that allow us to make sure that we really are maintaining our mission, whereas the strategic plan is part of our vision moving forward and excelling as a school. And I think Rachel will speak a little bit more about those in particular.
Yeah, so the next slide that you'll see in a moment articulates the strategic plan goals. You'll have seen this last year in the annual report, and you'll be seeing it again. And we have a special group that works within the school called the Strategic Oversight Committee, and that's members of the leadership team, members of the board. We actually have a parent member as well, because she's an expert in data analysis, and she's helping us exponentially with that. We also have members of our faculty who contribute very, very significantly to our progress with that. And at the moment, we're working on the measures that we will be sharing with you all in the annual report that will be shared at the beginning of next year. The next slide shows you the visual for our leading school benchmarks. We're not going to speak through these in detail, but these will be shared with you as the whole presentation will. And of course, as always, we are delighted to answer any questions or any wonderings that these might provoke for any of you. It's a very, very significant piece of work, because it does, as Cindy suggested, absolutely allow us to focus on vision and to grow and to become a better and better school. But it also makes sure that we are aligning ourselves to our standards and what we believe are the benchmarks of a top-tier school. So we hope that more and more of you will read those and get involved in those and comment on those, and we'll find ways to share those even more with the community in the new school year. We have another treat for you now. As per the tradition, which I think we started last year, which is for our one of our DP students, our diploma program students, to speak with us. We asked Andrew Spencer, who's our current student council president, if he would prepare a little something to talk about the seniors, our graduating class, the class of 2020. So please enjoy Andrew's comment.
No sound?
Dear members of the board and all attending members of the community, my name is Andrew Spencer and I'm a senior graduating student here at PSI. See, normally I would be addressing all of you in the auditorium, however, we're not in a normal time. The pandemic keeping us all at home and distant from each other has affected so many people socially, economically, and definitely educationally. I was fortunate enough to have all my coursework done before the lockdown, and many would say also lucky enough to have my exams cancelled as a result. I believe that the last month has been tough on many people, and I know for many of the seniors, but I think it's also important to look forward to the future. My class of 2020 is going to be traveling all over the world, studying and exploring new careers and making names for themselves. I'll be studying in England, pursuing economics with hopefully a degree of success. For many, it's going to be frightening to step out of the comfortable world of high school, but I believe that our school has something very special in it that has pushed people forwards and make them excited for the unknown that's to come. I've been at PSI for 7 years and been many things at our school, but I believe that over the years, our school has shown me who I am, and I believe it's incredibly rare for a school to accomplish that. I've also had very many roles at our school in sports and in the student body, but I think first and foremost, I've been a student, making friends and learning more about the world from my courses. I believe that applies to so many people at PSI. I also think that the class of 2020 has been very unique, and not just because we're the first class not to have exams. Some of my classmates have been here since the very beginning and have seen the school grow and develop into what it is now. I remember starting in 5th grade and now reflecting back on the way the buildings, the people, and the education has changed for me, and I think it's been incredible. Normally, they say that high school is some of the best years of your life, and now I can definitely say that's true. I've had an amazing time here at the school, and I'm definitely excited, if not a little bit cautious, for what the future holds. But I know that my time at PSI has made me look forward to the future and has made me think and get excited about what's to come. I just want to say that to all of my classmates and to all the teachers who have been with me on the journey, to tell them thank you. And I think it's been an incredible ride, and I hope that everyone can really see each other before the end of the school year. Thank you.
It was particularly important this year to have one of our students speak for us to half of the class of 2020. They really have been through an extraordinary experience, and they're continuing to go through that experience. We are making efforts to celebrate them, but their rites of passage have somehow, to some extent, been denied to them. And we hope that it's possible to make up for that in the future. But I thank Andrew for articulating so beautifully what he has learned and appreciated about our school. And I know that my colleagues here will join me in sending our very, very, very best wishes to the class of 2020 and to let them know that we are with them all the way. And we will do our very best to make these last few weeks a very special experience for them. And on this note, I'll pass over to Miss Sue Williams, our primary school principal, who will talk you through the primary.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, Rachel. So I'm going to talk through a little bit about what the primary school has been doing this year. So Nikita, if you can, thank you. So As some of you may know, and some of you may not, as parents perhaps, the IB has actually come out with an enhanced PYP, which is a review of the curriculum that we are currently doing. We review the curriculum every year, but in this case now we're reviewing it because IB has changed a little bit. So we're comparing ourselves to those standards and indicators that the IB has set forth. A lot of the enhanced PYP is more about student agency and action at the PYP level. So we're planning now for more student agency and action in our units of inquiry. We piloted the JAM and the GLOSS. Now those are two mathematics assessments that will have children demonstrate their understanding of mathematical concepts. We piloted them in December. We were hoping to actually have them take those assessments in May. Unfortunately, we have to be face-to-face because it is a one-on-one type of assessment, quite like the DRA in reading that we do. And so we will continue those in the fall. And so we'll continue working with the math as we did this past year. Our literacy program, we are all using the workshop model and all aligned or mostly aligned to our units of inquiry. Sometimes the reading and writing are separated for various reasons, but everyone is now up to their skills level and enjoying the workshop model. The children really understand it now, and we're using the same vocabulary and same terminology, which is very, very, very helpful. One of the really neat things is that our additional language teachers have actually also adopted the workshop model for their reading and writing, so that while they are focusing, of course, on the things of grammar and punctuation and things like that, they're also using the strategies in Readers and Writers Workshop to have the students give more idea and details into their writing. So that's been pretty exciting to see. We have fully adopted Seesaw, as you've seen, and a lot of our classrooms are now using Google Classroom, just due to the distance learning. And we continue to try to improve as much as possible. We look at your responses on the surveys. So for those who have been responding to those surveys, it's been very helpful. And so we have been making some changes. But in all honesty, the switch from face-to-face and being on campus to a totally off-campus distance learning mode has been very successful, and we're getting through all the curriculum that needs to be gotten through, so your children are progressing well. We did have a lot of kindness campaign throughout the course of the year. The Student Council has been very helpful. As a matter of fact, the Student Council came up with a kindness card so that anyone who wants to send a card to a friend just to kind of show an act of kindness or to tell someone thank you for an act of kindness, you just need to send something to kindness@psi.kiev.ua, and then Miss Annie, our counselor, will forward that to the person you would like to send it to. And because of the kindness campaign, there have been, while we're on campus, particularly fewer discipline issues amongst and between students, which was really great to see. Students are really not only collaborating together in their work, but also in their play. And it's been great to see. We did have a new 6-day rotation this year that was very successful. It did allow us to have more homeroom time for literacy and mathematics. So the children were progressing very well. And next year, actually, just as a kind of forethought, if you will, we'll continue with the 6-day rotation schedule, but we have been able to add a little bit longer lunch and a little bit longer recess time. Studies show that children really need about 45 minutes of recess time to actually run around, kind of, what do I want to do? Then they start running around, and then they need to cool down, all in 45 minutes. We don't have 45 minutes, but we can give them 30 minutes. So we're going to increase our recess from 15 minutes to 30 minutes in the morning. And so now I believe this gets handed over to Patricia. Okay.
Patricia, you're muted. I hope you can remember all the wonderful things you just said.
No, I've forgotten them all. For those of you who don't know me, I am Patricia Puya, and I am the secondary principal, at least for the next 5 weeks, at which point we will turn this over to Jessica Kruger. So Nikita, next slide, please. Thank you. So we've been doing some work on student agency as well, and we started that with a student review committee that created a revised dress code. That's always been one of the things they've cared the most about. And they've done a great job of providing us with some new guidelines that are reasonable and still give them a lot of freedom and autonomy. We've also expanded our ambassador program. That's a program that we've put in place where students are buddied up with new students who are arriving. Those students have really taken an active role during the closure to check in on the kids who were new this year and make sure that they're doing okay during the quarantine, as we felt they might be particularly vulnerable. And they have already started reaching out to students who are enrolled for next fall, so that kids will arrive in August already knowing someone, which we think is a really terrific opportunity to just keep expanding our sense of community. We have 2 CAS projects that were new this year that again were led, organized, created by students. One is a tutoring center that was open during the school day for kids who wanted extra help, either with an assignment, a specific assignment, or some general support in any of the subject areas. And Ukraine That Cares, which is an offshoot of the Green Committee and has been focused on helping us become more ecologically aware. We had our annual January Honors Assembly, and as you can see from the stats there, we had a number of students who are doing extremely well academically. They're also doing very well in terms of their respect for themselves, for others, and for their environment. We offered 3 university nights for parents, and we've been offering more things through PET sessions. But we are doing more and more each year, I think, to help parents understand how to get on and stay on the road toward university as students get prepared to graduate. We also had a Life After PSI panel discussion in which we had 4 of our PSI alumni come back and talk to our students and our parents about what to expect in that important transition. And that's led me to say that we have a lot to celebrate, as always, in terms of our university acceptances. The UK universities, as you may know, do not give full acceptances right out of the bat. We are waiting for the DP results that will come out in July, but we do have conditional acceptances to Cambridge, to Warwick, and St. Andrews, among others. We also have a number of students who already have unconditional acceptances, so we know they will be attending in the fall to the new school in the United States, the University of Michigan, the University of British Columbia, the University of Washington. And just in case you thought all of our students were going to the UK or North America, we also have 3 students who are unconditionally accepted to the University of Rotterdam, which is in the top 200 universities in the world. So we're very proud of our graduates. We have a number of graduates this year who are also taking gap years and are looking forward to other kinds of adventures before they head into university. And like everybody has been saying tonight, I'm very proud of what our teachers and our students have accomplished in what has been a very strange school year. But the transition to distance learning has been extremely well handled. We've been very grateful for the feedback that we've received from parents and students that have helped us continue to refine what we're offering to our students. And we're consistently amazed by how well our students have coped with a very unusual and difficult situation, and not at all amazed by how well our teachers have stepped up and made this transition work for our kids. So that's what's been happening at secondary.
And I'd like to ask Rick, who I know has joined us here this evening, to talk a little bit about our athletics celebrations, which we definitely do not want to forget about, even if it's a rather more challenging at the moment, Rick, for you and your team and for the students involved. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Rachel. Hello, everyone. For those of you who have not met me before, my name is Rick Floyd, and I'm the athletics director at PSI. Our program started off very strongly this year with a CISA cross-country event, which we co-hosted with the Kiev International School. We had 150 cross-country runners at the tournament. We also set a new record for our biggest team of athletes, which was 35, beating the previous record of 25, which was the high school boys football team. Our individual awards for cross country are quite significant, with a total of 16 medals, 6 gold, 5 silver and 5 bronze. And that actually was better than another school in CISA from Moscow, which is a huge school. And we actually achieved more medals than they did, which is quite an achievement. The season one awards for teams included 4 CISA championships, 2 silver awards and 1 bronze from cross country and our football teams. We then moved on to season 2, and again we beat our own record for our biggest team, as our swimmers totaled 42, and we also had to introduce 2 more coaches, making our biggest team of coaches with 5. Our swim program has grown significantly in the last 2 years. Season 3 brought a new challenge, as our athletes had to train virtually. They worked with coaches online doing workouts, meetings, and sometimes some fun games as well. But most importantly, they had a chance to connect with their teammates online. Our basketball KSSL awards included 2 championships this year, as we were unable to attend CISA, but we did enjoy our first high school boys championship win in 6 years. That's a great achievement for our high school boys, trying to match what our girls have been able to do for a couple of years now. Our swimmers, even though they did not have a chance to do CISA, were able to win quite a number of medals, including 27 gold, 42 silver and 32 bronze in the Kiev League. They set 30 new PSI swim records and a total of 12 new KSSL swim records. We also this year introduced a new program with table tennis, and we had a team of 9 students this year join our program, and we look forward to resuming to some sort of normality in season 1 come August 2020, and let's hope we can get our athletes back on the fields and the courts and in the pool. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Rick. And I think it's good to raise everyone's awareness of just how much has continued to happen for our athletes and for our students through their PHE programs at school. A wonderful video was posted today on Facebook, so try to take a look at some of the things they've been up to in that regard. It's so important that we keep our focus on balance, so our academics, our athletics, and now, as Sue will kick off for us, our arts at the school. Sue, handing to you.
Okay, so we have been doing quite a bit in the arts area in the primary school. We had our first ever grade 4 field trip to Pinchunk Art Center, which was, the kids absolutely loved it, and I'm sure we will be going back there again. It was very creative, the kids learned a lot. They went twice, they had different exhibitions, if you will, and different workshops. While they were there, they had a wonderful time and learned a lot, and to their How We Express Ourselves unit. Our grade 3 was worked a lot on their traditional arts and artifacts that went back to their unit in their classroom, which was Where We Are in Place and Time. And our primary students, aside from the fine arts, we also have, of course, our performing arts. And so we were able to have our 2 concerts this year. And our winter concert was outstanding as well. And during our distance learning, because we still believe that although we definitely want to do our mathematics and our literacy and our units of inquiry and science and social sciences and things like that, we still want to make sure that we maintain not only the physical activity, but also the arts. And so over the distance learning period, the students have been given lots of different things to do, playing various musical instruments. I know grade 4 has been working with their recorders. They have been using software to actually create their own music, and figuring out and learning more about different types or different elements of music. And with our art program, Miss Anna is continually sending things out so that the children are learning how to use various art techniques as much as can be possible at home. So we did a really nice job with the arts this year, and I'm sure we'll do just as good as a job, if not even better, next year. Thank you.
Thanks, Sue. And I'd like to invite Eric, our head of arts department overall, if he'd say a few words about the secondary school in that regard.
Of course, thank you, Rachel. So, you know, despite our current situation and the numerous cancellations to the events that we had planned for the year, nevertheless, it was a very robust year for the arts at PSI in the 2019-2020 school year. We started off very strongly with a visit from Martina Mayock and Jack Moore. Martina is an award-winning playwright. Most recently, the Pulitzer Prize for Drama in 2017. She was recently in Ukraine to work on a play about Chernobyl, and she was kind enough to stop by our school along with Jack Moore, a dramaturg in the Public Theater. And she spoke to our high school students who had numerous questions for her. Another exciting event that happened this school year was the launch of our DP Music program. So DP Music is a new course offering in the arts and secondary, and there have been numerous recitals this year, 2 of which happened on campus, and 2 of which are happening as part of our distance learning program. As Rachel mentioned earlier in the meeting, one of the major arts events this year in secondary was PSI hosting the ISTA Theater Festival. We had over 50 participants from schools all over Europe, and we had artists coming to work with students to develop their skills in theater, their skills in collaboration, but also to provide a space for students to meet, interact, participate, collaborate, and just express themselves and have an opportunity for PSI to express what PSI is and how it's a part of Kiev. So it was a wonderful opportunity for both the community and the students. We've managed to successfully transition into a distance learning program. As I mentioned, we have our DP music recitals, and we also had our DP visual art exhibit, which for those that attended, I think can agree, was very successful. Some fabulous pieces of art and some really thoughtful engagement and thinking about the process from our students. And then I'll end with an invitation. There is a DP music recital, the 4th one this year, and that is to be held on the 20th of May. Our music teacher, Sylvan, I'm sure will send an invitation along, and hope to see you all there. Thank you.
Many thanks, Eric. So much good stuff. And now we'll move to a permanent highlight of our school, which is our Parent Teacher Association. And I'd like to ask our fabulous president of the PTA, Jan, if you would share a few words with us too.
Thank you very much, Rachel. That's kind of you. As you can see, the team there and our famous purple T-shirts that we introduced this year. So, Nikita, if you could take me to the next slide. Thank you. So really what I'd like to do is share some of the PTA highlights for this year. And I've summarized this into 3 areas. So we've got the policy development, community events, and then student projects. So if we start with the policy development, I wanted to take you back to the beginning of the school year, where we actually sent out a survey to the whole community, asking members what did they really feel the role of the PTA should be at PSI, and also what do they feel we should be doing with the money that we raise. And from the results, we were able to create some PTA bylaws, a set of guidelines for the allocation of PTA funds, and also to strengthen our accounting procedures. So what's really important about this is what we were trying to do is align the PTA with the school's strategic plan the leading school benchmarks, and ensure that we're actually striving for common goals. Okay, so if we turn on to the next point, which is turning to community events, we added some new activities this year and also enhanced some others. We introduced a new family coffee morning to coincide with the start of the new school year, and also for after the winter break, to really try and welcome our new families into the community. In response to parent feedback, which is very important to the PTA, we invited outside caterers to the back to school picnic, and we also added some children's activities to this, and this proved very successful. We had really positive feedback from the community about that. We really wanted to focus this year on engaging students more in our PTA events, and so for International Night we invited grade 9 students who were doing a design technology project to create an exhibition that really showcased all of the nationalities that are represented here at PSI. And they did an outstanding job, I have to say. For the Winter Bazaar, we invited secondary students, and they were able to do their own fundraising and raise the profile of the CAS projects that they support. In December, we also started a new event, which was a family Christmas brunch, and that proved extremely popular with the community. And so now we have plans this year to extend it over 2 days. In addition to all of those things, despite the quarantine measures, we've forged ahead. We've managed to hold an Easter egg painting competition, an art in quarantine challenge, and we've even managed for the first time to hold a silent auction online for the primary and grade 6 art projects. And so we're really, really thankful to our teachers and students for their hard work with that silent auction. We also are a little bit sad that we haven't had a chance to continue with our primary school, but we'll try with that. I'll talk about that in a few minutes with the student projects, but we are planning to also host a summer fair online in June, and that will give the community a chance to shop, and you will be able to buy some beautiful Ukrainian arts and crafts online. So look out for that, that is coming soon. Finally, if we turn to student projects, probably the most important area I suppose we should be looking at is the PTA has been able to financially support numerous student-led projects this year. And these include the printing of a health education book on diabetes, which has been translated into Ukrainian and distributed throughout the country. We've been able to provide funds for the purchase of food and much needed medicine for an animal shelter, to equip a sensory room for a school which is taking pupils from orphanage number 9 that have special education needs. And we've also been able to support a grade 10 student with his personal project by funding the printing of a gluten-free cookbook for him. And now I'll come back to the primary, a little bit of sadness here, but still some optimism. We were really hoping that we would be able to work with the Primary Student Council and to work on a project that Sue and Student Council came up with, was to create some sensory pathways in the primary building. But whilst we can't do that now, we very much are looking forward to doing that in the new school year. So watch out, watch that space. So that's there. And so really, apart from these things, I think I just would really like to take this opportunity on behalf of the whole PTA team to say a huge thank you to all of the members of the PSI community for their continued support throughout the year for our activities and events. We really could not do anything without your support and your generosity for giving your time to us. And so a huge, huge thank you to you all for that. Please do join us on the 2nd of June at 3 o'clock, when the PTA will hold its own annual general meeting, and we will be able to provide a little bit more detail about the achievements for this year and give you a full financial report as well for how money is being spent. And plus, most importantly, introduce you to our nominees for the next PTA Executive Committee. So please do come along on the 2nd and join us for that. And that's all from me. So thank you very much.
Jan, thank you so much for everything that you and your team have done and continue to do for the school. It's extraordinary and much appreciated. I'd like to hand back now the floor to Alex, our board chair, as he'll introduce our Board of Governors presentations for this year.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Indeed, it was an unusual year, and I'm very lucky to have so many great and very committed people working together, because without that it would have been impossible to accomplish so many good things, and we're going to talk about that just in a few moments. As you can see, under our bylaws, the Board of Governors consists of 12 people, and this year it was very balanced board in terms of the representation, gender-wise, nationality-wise, age-wise, experience-wise. One or two things in common, probably two, certainly: dedication and commitment. And again, guys, I'm very grateful to you all for all your time and contribution. This is the voting members board, but on the next slide, Nikita, please. We have the enlarged board, which includes representatives of the leadership team, our faculty and staff. Actually, I love this photo because it was taken during one of our September retreats together with our coach, Andy Page Smith, who is hiding behind Eric and Natalia. He is taking over that ASH organization, Association of International Heads of Schools, and we are very proud of his next assignment, and will keep working with him closely, assuming obviously the traveling will become possible at certain point. So on this note, I guess it's the right time to pass to the board's business and present you the reports. As I mentioned, we worked in 3 committees. And the first one committee is very important one. All of 3 of them are quite important. It's a governance and strategy committee. And this year has been headed by Natalia Fiala. Natalia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Alex, for the introduction. I would also acknowledge my other members of this committee. Nikita, if you could please, yes, thank you. It's Juliana, Nora, Andrews, Peter, Tito, who is the teacher's representative, Jen is a representative of PTA, and we also have Patricia and Rachel on the committee. As Alex already mentioned, we usually start our year by having a strategic session where we plan the goals for the next year and our workload. And this year we were very lucky to have Andy Page Smith with us, who moderated this event. It was 2 days event where we've invited teachers, of course, the board members and the management team. And usually the major task for the governance committee is updating and revising our policy and procedures, which is a very extensive document. It's more than 100 pages long. But we usually try to look through it and update, those policies which need some rewarding. For example, this year we updated such policies as attendance, admissions. As you know, admissions is usually a very sensitive subject for our school, but we always try to make it as transparent and as clear as possible. So our management has strong guidance on how to proceed. We also had a specific focus on health and safety. And luckily, all the protocols were in place before the crisis with COVID appeared. So the school was ready to really, make the transition smoothly. A major project for us this year was also changing the legal jurisdiction. As you know, our holding company and the trust company were historically set in the BVI and the Isle of Man. We believe that it could potentially bring some reputational and operational risks. That's why we decided to move to the US jurisdiction, and we already opened a bank account with Citibank. This new legal setup will not only be more secure from the operational point of view, but will also allow us to introduce a more transparent corporate governance structure and actually institutionalize our board. The quarantine has slowed down the process a little bit. We did hope to already complete this task, but I think we're still in a good position to complete all registration formalities by end of May or beginning of June. Another major task for our committee this year was developing the leading school benchmarks, and Rachel and Cindy already spoke about it. I do believe that this set of benchmarks will allow us to track the school's progress and will also help us identify those areas which still need improvement. We are now in the final stage, and hopefully they will be finalized by the beginning of next year. And last but not the least was the work of our ad hoc succession and election committee, which usually makes sure that our annual elections go smoothly. As you know, about 1/3 of our board members rotate every year. And SIAC is usually composed of 3 members who are not running for re-election themselves. And they are responsible for recruiting potential candidates among our wonderful community, organizing all the meet and greet events, and finally certifying the election results. And Andrius is the chair of this committee, and later on he will have his own presentation. This is it from my side, and I think the next one is Lina, who is the chair of the Facilities and Building Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalia. Nikita, can we have the next slide, please? Yeah, thank you. Nikita, can you hear me?
Lina, unfortunately, you're cutting in and out.
Yeah. Excuse me.
It's very slow connection.
Sometimes it helps if you just cut off the video. Sometimes it could be better quality.
Can you hear me?
We can now, Lina, yes.
Hello.
Lena, unfortunately, we're still struggling.
Yeah. Can you cannot hear me, can you?
We can every now and again. For example, now we can hear you perfectly. Maybe try to keep speaking. Okay, Lena, would you like one of us to take over, and then you can jump in if
Yes. Can you hear me, Rachel?
Now we can, but you're cutting.
Oh, okay. Okay. So if it cuts, if I get cut off, can you just pick it up from?
Absolutely, no problem. I can do that.
Okay, but tell me if you don't hear me. Okay. Okay. Thank you, and apologies for this, connection issues. I think our greatest achievement over the last year was the progress with phase 3. We have our internal design finalized. Phase 3 project, we looked into several other issues. One of them was air pollution monitoring system that has.
Lena, we've lost you again, so I shall take over, and then you can jump in and bump me out when you're ready. So we introduced, as Lena said, an air pollution monitoring system. Our operations manager did some extensive research, and we actually found a locally produced possibility which is functioning fully and is giving us everything we need in terms of the information to make decisions on the quality of air for our students and our staff and community on any given day. It was definitely a good step in the right direction in terms of explorations in that area. We've been working on solutions for our primary playground in terms of the shading, and we believe we've identified some very good options for that, which we will continue to explore once we're back on campus and we can benefit from those again. We're also looking at the cafeteria in terms of the growth of the school and the number of students, and how we can redesign the interior and possibly work on the exterior in order to extend that to enable more effective lunch times, I guess you could say, in terms of student numbers, and also on the timings of lunch. That is a project that is still underway. We are very proud that we have a student representative on our committee, and we are very proud to say that there are many occasions when she contributes some extraordinarily good ideas and provokes our thinking in new direction. And she certainly helped significantly in terms of feedback regarding the interior design of the phase 3 project. And we do have a non-voting member, Alexei Chernyshov, who joined our committee this year. I think potentially Andreas might explain a little more about our non-voting members who have joined us during the course of the 2019-20 year. Lena, I hope I did justice to your slide. If not, I'm sure I can include something in a written communication for you. At this point, I'll hand over to Marina, who will present for us for the Finance and Risk Management Committee.
Yes, thank you very much, Rachel and colleagues. Actually, no, I am a departing parent, so this will be my final report, for the year. Nikita, could you, yeah. Many of you do know that, the school is not for profit organization, which means that we have to be very diligent with our finances because we are funding ourselves by the fees, and it's responsibility of this committee to work with the management to make sure that we are financially sustainable. So in this work, I would like to thank all the members of the committee, including Vitaly, Eric, Robert, Alex, Natalia, Rachel, and the two new joiners, whom we invited as observers, Lena and Oksana, specifically to help us to improve the way we are managing the finances of the school. The good news is that, we've received unqualified independent audit for the previous financial year, and we continue working with the auditors. Our next year, Deloitte is our auditor, and this is a confirmation that the finances of the school are being taken proper care. We've been actively working with other committees in the board in order to help implement the phase 3 project, and that's why the 5-year financial projections are extremely important. Again, because we are non-for-profit, because we are funded by our own fees, such expensive long-term projects do require very careful financial planning. And for example, one of the decisions that we had to take was to slightly increase the fees, given that for a very long time there was no increase in the fees, while our expenses were going up pretty much in line with inflation. Before the start of the crisis, we've prepared a budget for next year that at the time appeared to be very balanced to us. Once the crisis started, the committee increasingly concentrated on, supporting the management in navigating the effects of the crisis. It was very important that the school was able to continue providing services despite the fact that we are doing it now remotely. And there was a change in the structure of our expenses, but as you could appreciate, providing services remotely is not necessarily, cheaper. And we also need to prepare for the opening of the school that may cost us additional money, given that, some of the requirements would be stricter than, they were before the crisis erupted. The other important activity for us was the one that we had jointly with the Governance and Strategy Committee, is the migration of our holding company to Delaware. We also clarified that we are not for profit, and we now have bank account with Citibank, which hopefully makes lots of our international parents very happy, because paying to this account is much easier and clearer compared to what was the case before. And we also launched the work on the Ukrainian legal entity status, again to make sure that we do not face any potential regulatory and financial risks in our structure. We've been working with the management and other committees on review of financial procedures and handbooks, again to make sure that the fees that are collected are spent effectively, and there is proper supervision on how finances are spent, allocated, and monitored. And overall supervision of PSI liquidity management is an important part of the work of the committee. So, I would like to, thank again all the members of my committee and the management for very productive work this year. And I'm hoping that I will be leaving, this committee in good hands next year. Yes, and here just few highlights that would demonstrate to you what was the total number of paid students. Our fees are, as I said, pretty much coming from enrollment only. We have some small amounts that we generate in form of interest on the cash that we have in the accounts. But we are not actively seeking external financing, and vast majority of the revenue is spent for the operational expenses that are to largest extent salaries and education of our staff. That is so important to maintain the quality of education that the school is providing. You also see here the reserve fund. This is a very important fund that is created in line with the recommendations for IB schools. Given that we are now entering a period of uncertainty, this is the fund that should help us if, for whatever reason, the school will not be able to fully cover the operational expenses, for example, because of significant drop in the number of students. So I think, these are the key on my side, and I'm passing over to Rachel.
Marina, thank you. I'd like to extend my thanks to all of the committee members and the committee chairs, but in particular, Marina, I'd like to make a special mention for you because you are leaving us, and it's with great regret that I say goodbye. You've been an exceptional chair of that committee. I thank you for your hard work, your support, and your determination as well. It's been an absolute pleasure having you as a member of the team and as a committee chair with our finances. You've done a wonderful job. Thank you. Now I'm going to pass to Andreas, who is going to speak to us about the election results and our bylaw ratification for this year. Andreas.
Thank you, Rachel. So as a member of our Succession and Election Ad Hoc Committee, which was responsible for the recent vote on our bylaw amendments and to elect members to our Board of Governors, I want to say thank you on behalf of the board to all the parents who voted. An active community at PSI is a really integral part of who we are. It's absolutely necessary if we wish to remain a leading IB school, and if we also want to remain true to our motto as a place where we belong. So thank you to all parents who did participate in that. So in terms of results, first I'd like to share with you the results of our vote to ratify our bylaws. Just a reminder, the bylaws that we were looking to change this year did two essential things. First, would provide the right to vote for faculty and staff with kids at PSI. It's an important, I think, and consistent piece of our attempt to make our process more open and more engaging for the community. And secondly, to resolve potential conflicts of interest for appointments and elections to the board. I'm happy to say that through the vote, we had 99% of respondees saying yes, so that's wonderful. We're required to have at least 2/3 saying yes, so that was a great result. Nikita, if you can go to the next slide. We decided to liven up tonight a little bit by doing something a bit interactive. Okay, actually, we have a technical requirement under our bylaws that during the actual AGM, we have to hold a vote to change any bylaw amendments. So this is a bit of a repeat from what we've done. We'll have to fix our bylaws again next year to allow us to do a purely electronic vote, but this year we'll have to do it this way as well. So I'd like to ask all parents who are with us, who are not employees of the school, if you can help us out by participating in this vote. Students, those of us who are with us, I'm glad to have you with us, but please do not vote in this question. We're glad to have you with, but if you can please withhold your vote now. Nikita is going to start an online vote for us within Zoom to answer the question, do you support the amendments to sections 2.2, 3.1, and 5.6 of our school bylaws approved unanimously in February 2020 by the PSI Board of Governors? And once we get that started, you'll have a minute to cast your vote.
And I'm launching the poll.
Okay.
Andreas,
Yes,
I'm ready to share the results.
terrific. Let's see, Nikita. Wonderful. A nearly identical response, 97%. So that surpasses the requirement of 66% needed. Thank you everyone for your participation. Thank you, Nikita, for administering the vote. And let's go on to our next slide. So regarding our board elections, for the second year now, we've held our elections using an electronic ballot. And for the third year in a row, we've had a competitive election. This year we had 5 candidates for 3 positions. Turnout again this year was very strong. We had 188 ballots cast, which is about a 39% participation rate among our parents. This compares to 20 to 25% historically. So the electronic vote has really helped to boost participation, which is great. We're really happy to see that. And of course, we have a requirement that to make it onto the board, the candidate would have to receive at least 40% of the vote. And this year, all of our top 3 candidates did receive at least 40% of votes on ballots. So before I announce the results, I want to say a huge thank you to all 5 candidates who participated: Svetlana Chernashova, Natalia Fiala, Olena Malinska, Ashley Mulrooney, and Lena Nemchenko. We're extremely lucky to have 5 very strong candidates and committed parents who were willing to step forward for this. It's a shame that we can't take all of them. But on behalf of the board, I'd like to say a big thank you to each of you for participating and for your commitment to PSI. So now I'd like to welcome to your 3-year term on the Board of Directors, Board of Governors for PSI, Natalia Fiala, Ashley Mulrooney, and Lena Nemchenko. Congratulations, everybody.
Andreas, thank you very, very much. And congratulations, yes, to our successful nominees to the board. We look forward to working with you all for the next months and into the new year. And it's at this point now that we will be happy to accept some general questions. I'm not sure, Nikita, if you've received any questions via the chat.
Unfortunately, I have not received any questions.
And that's fine. We can certainly use the, if people can look to the bottom of where they have their participant icon at the bottom on this, the black strip at the bottom of your screen, you can raise a hand if you would like to ask a question, and Nikita will watch the screen for us and let us know. You can perhaps suggest who you think the question is best asked to as well. Please go ahead if there are any questions.
We have our first questions via chat from a student.
Yes.
Thank you. It's from Sonia Monastersky, and the question is, are there any updates to the timeline of Phase 3?
Very good question, Sonia. The update I can give you is that, as Lena suggested this evening, the internal designs that you helped us with are finalized. Now we are working to get the working drawings completed. We're hoping to have the working drawings completed by September, at which point that will be a big decision moment for the school. That will be the point when we decide when we'll be moving forward with the construction company and when we'd be breaking ground. Would any of my committee members or board members like to add anything?
I think once in August or in September, rather in September, I think at that point when the working drawings are done, then we would put the working drawings out for cost estimates, which we would then receive, I think it is by the end of the calendar year. And at that point, we can make a decision about if, when, and how to move forward.
Thank you, Andreas. Sonia, I hope that answered your question.
We have our next question. Excuse me for my French, I guess it's from Jean-Louis Beu. And the question is, are there special modalities in case restrictions to enter Ukraine are still effective in August 2020?
Jean-Louis, are you referring to what we would be doing in terms of our program offerings and how we will continue our learning? I'm happy for you to unmute and speak, Jean-Louis, if you're happy, if you're comfortable to do so. Thank you.
Yes, you know, we're planning the holiday period and beyond. And we were asking ourselves, you know, that if school is supposed to start on 19th of August, at the moment, there's 2 weeks quarantine for people coming from abroad, meaning that if children would have to start on the 19th, it would have to be in it requires planning and well, just in case.
Jean-Louis, unfortunately, we're struggling to hear you, but I think I've understood the focus of your question. So allow me to answer, and then you can let us know via the chat if it hasn't managed to hit the target for you. At the moment, with the team, we are planning to reopen on August 19th. We have to have a date in the calendar, and we would like to maintain our current schedule. That said, we are planning 3 different scenarios. One is that we will be back on campus fully. We have no doubt, though, that will incur some restrictions and some differences that will be very new to all of us, but that would be plan A. Plan B is that we would have a blended learning experience because some of our students and some of our teachers may not be able to join us on campus for various reasons. Others would, and so we are working out a plan in that regard so that everybody can still be included in the learning. And plan C is if things are for some reason reverted back to the situation we found ourselves in now, we would have an even stronger online learning, distance learning program. So no children enrolled in the school will be excluded from the learning programs. We will find a way to move them forward, whatever the situation we find ourselves in is. Jean-Louis, please send us a message on the chat to verify if that was what you need to know or not.
Yes, thank you for the very clear answer. Thank you for asking us such a nice question. And we have the 3rd question from Gemma van Rosmalen. The question is, will maximum group sizes remain the same for the next school year?
We would love to know the answer to that question. It's one of those questions, one of those items where we're building a plan and we're leaving a dotted line to fill the gap. We know that there are certain restrictions in different countries. They're all different. They seem to vary between 8 and 15. I spoke today with the head of school in Helsinki, who explains that their early childhood are actually allowed to be their original size. So we're trying to work out what we're trying to learn from all the lessons of our colleagues who are opening around the world, most of them under duress to open because they don't feel quite ready. But we will learn from that, and we will let you know as soon as things are clearer to us. If they remain unclear, we will make a decision based on the best we can, based on scientific and health information, research that is coming our way. So please understand we are conferring with medical authorities, we're conferring with schools around the world, and we will, as soon as we can, we will clarify these kinds of questions, but we don't know just yet. We're planning for them to be smaller, that's for sure, at the moment.
And that's it for now.
We're very good at wait time, if anybody else has anything that they'd like to pose. No? No hands? Nikita?
No hands and no questions.
Well, we're always here. And as you know, we did put a survey in my weekly message, which invited questions. Tomorrow, you'll see the answers to those questions which were posed. If they were very personalized, we called that family and we spoke to them directly. If they could be helpful to the more general community, we have included those questions in their totality and our responses in their totality as well. So thank you all. Please keep talking to us. We need to hear from you.
Rachel, I think it's also the right moment to tell our community that the board has created that task force, which together with the board will continue working through the summer, and we'll try to adjust and communicate to our community based on all the information we are going to receive and based on all the assessment, all the new things appearing or emerging. And obviously we keep hoping that we'll be able to open the school as planned in August. But stay tuned, please. We'll try to come back with some messages during the summer, at least every other 2 weeks, or at least on monthly basis.
Yes, tomorrow in my weekly, again, I'll explain more about what Alex has just shared and explain to you the task groups that are working within the school that will feed into this re-entry task force that Alex has described. There is a lot going on. A lot of detailed plans are being created right now. You can see it makes my faculty look tired when I mention it, but they're doing an amazing job. So we will have as much as possible to share with you. We'll be as transparent as we possibly can. Thank you, Alex. So on that note, we wanted to end the evening with a little treat. Alex, I don't know if you had any final words. Perhaps there's one last slide at the end for some thank yous. But this is the, traditionally, I say it's traditionally, we did it last year, so I'm going to say it's a tradition. We had our wonderful Ukrainian dance group perform for us. And again, they've really pulled it off in an online performance from their homes. Incredible what they've done. So please enjoy this as a final celebration of our fabulous school. Thank you.
Не знала, що змала твоїм коханням стала. Гей, шикітай, ширикі дане, ширики-тай, шикіриї дана. Без жалю запалю, гей, гей, тільки танці, тайна, тайна, буде твоя. Тайна, да мене не зупини. Тайна, тайна, моє ім'я. Тайна, да його знає ти. Для себе застелю ціле небо. Ей, шикітай, ширикі дане, ширики-тай, ширикі дана. На сонці, уранці, запалю дикі танці. Дане, ширики-тай, ширикі дана. Без жалю запалю, гей, гей, дикі танці. Тайна буде твоя, тайна для мене не зупини. Тайна, тайна, моє ім'я, тайна я його
Please join me in giving them a wonderful clap. I'm delighted that they were able to still have an audience. It's one of the things that that the situation is taking away from us, is this wonderful opportunity to share with each other in this way. Nikita just told me there was one more question that came in via the chat, and it's a question that maybe my principals can help me with too. It's a question that saddens us. It's about our students being able to say goodbye to each other. And we talk about this every day, that the learning can go on, etc. But what really hurts is this lack of opportunity to be together and to have that connection with each other. And those students leaving us and not coming back, and families leaving us and not coming back, and faculty and principals leaving us and not coming back, it hurts to think we won't be able to say goodbye properly. We are looking at this. Guys, did you want to add something? Did you want to step in and say what we're doing?
Yes,
I can say, oh, you first.
Go ahead, Patricia.
I would say from secondary that we are working through our homeroom program to bring the kids together to have an opportunity to say farewell at the end of the year, particularly to say goodbye to their classmates. We also have an end of the year assembly that we'll still be doing virtually, and we're working through that, and we're asking departing teachers to do a little video for the students so that we have a chance to say goodbye to departing staff as well. So our counselors have been working on it, and our homeroom teachers are certainly working on it, because we also think that's an important part of the process. Sue.
Thank you. And in the primary school, we are definitely having our end of year assemblies. So the teachers and the children are working to create farewells for the children who are leaving. So typically what we do is we actually have the children who are leaving choose their friends who want to say some really nice things about them as a farewell. So that will happen at our end of year assembly, which will be on the 19th of June at about 9 o'clock in the morning. And then we are, of course, doing the grade 5 ceremony, the moving up ceremony. And in there, we'll also do some farewells to our grade 5 students who are leaving PSI. And that will actually be on the 18th of June at 2 p.m. so that we can have our grade 5 children who are, some of them are 7 hours away, so they can take part in that virtual ceremony. And then of course we have classroom parties that the teachers arrange, and they will also be doing something at the end of the week. So we are trying to do as much as we possibly can, because we do know it's very, very important. And of course Annie and Michelle are working on various things. Annie has put together a Padlet to create for the children who will be leaving, and she's going to be meeting them in smaller groups, and one-to-one between now and the end of the year.
And we will share with you all the dates and times, of course, in the weekly, so it's clear for you and you can add those to your schedules, your calendars. Thank you for that question.
Alors là, j'ai un très gros problème.
Is there anything else, Nikita?
Nothing else.
Okay, then Alex, I shall hand over to you for the farewell.
Well, thank you so much for that. I think we made it. It was a good event, and we stayed between 2 hours limit. I also regret the fact that we'll not be able at this point properly celebrate our achievements, but also to say bye to our departing faculty members, Patricia, but and Marina as well. But we'll do some special events. I promise that. So thank you guys for making it such a success. Thank you for your participation. Congratulations to all the new board members elected. There will be a lot of work this year, this school year and next school year. So good luck.
And Alex, a big thank you to you for all that you do for our school. Please join me in a round of applause or a thumbs up for Alex too. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Have a wonderful evening, everybody. We look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.